Not fundamentally good nor fundamentally bad, just fundamentally human. Despite all the faults and flaws of mankind, there is perhaps nothing more unique or profound than the human experience. Since humans first evolved 200,000 years ago, we have come so far, experienced so much. But what does it mean to be a human? Is it a caress of a lover's hand, a mother's lullaby to her young one, a requiem to the dead, or to the resting? In this episode, our sender spells out what it was like to fall dizzyingly in love with a best friend, only to realize that loving someone should be a two-way street. Praising the fallible, embracing the unsanctified. This is
The
the podcast
podcast
of
of a
the Human
Human
Incarnate.
Incarnate. So, in high school, I was actually in a not so official relationship for 3 whole years. It was mutual, of course, and everyone in our batch, including some teachers, knew, and before that arrangement, both of us were already the best of friends. As time passed, though, perhaps because we had different love languages, or maybe simply because we were fundamentally opposites. I mean, he loved attention while I didn't, he was self confident while I was not. I slowly found his affection stifling and suffocating. While I appreciated it, the grand gestures and the expectations, not only from him but also from most people around us, over time it really just made it harder for me to cope up. And just as senior high started, we drifted apart as we went to different schools. In hindsight, I figured that one factor was because I couldn't relate to what he was saying about me. He'd praise me and speak so highly of me to everyone, but I always felt uncomfortable because I never saw myself that way. From that, I think that love should be balanced. One must learn to love themselves before being able to fully love someone else back. We've reconnected recently, although we've simply remained as friends now, and though I struggle to think about what it could have been, at least now we're able to salvage that relationship we had before. I do think that love between any relationships, not only romantic ones, whether it be your friends or your family, anyone else, it must be balanced because love in the end is a two-way street. So, Zild. Zild, what did you think about the story from our sender?
Before we start, I would like to thank first our sender for sharing their experience with us. Anyway, I just wanna quote, the saying na, opposites attract. I believe that this is a myth created by hopeless romantics. No offense. That's only possible in the short run.
Okay.
Like what our sender said, as years pass and as the colleague diminish, the disparities between couples may lead to future conflicts or arguments. However, I also believe that as long as both parties are matured enough to settle at a compromise, and as long as they acknowledge that both of them have personal lives and that the world does not revolve around them, their relationship may have lasted longer. Also, this does not only apply to romantic relationships like what our sender has. Friendships are commonly formed through an overlap between people's interests or hobbies, diba? In situations like this, having similar identities is better in bridging gaps between relationships. Although hindi naman siya applicable to all. Ikaw ba, Marian? What can you say about our sender's experience?
Okay, so first of all, let's try to contextualize this. So we'll turn to Mr. B and B. See, Bushmeister and
Bro, B&B.
Bushman. Do you know him,
Yes, of
Zil?
course. Sino ba naman hindi makakilala sa, sa
Yes.
B&B? Nice acronym, bro.
So, oh yeah, Mr. B and B.
in his book Social Psychology and Human Nature, he said that there are two types of relationships. There would be exchange relationships and communal relationships. So basically, when you say exchange relationships, it's between it's an exchange. So you give one, you reciprocate, and you always expect something in return. Char.
Char.
So, and when you say it's a communal, yeah, when you say it's a communal relationship, it's more of a give, and you don't really expect something. So it's kind of like what they call an unconditional love. And it seems like our sender here, it seems like there's some kind of a communal relationship going on between them. I mean, even before they were lovers, Char, even before they were let's we can't do we call them lovers?
I think so.
Anyway, even
3 years naman
before.
sila.
Oh yeah, okay, that's lovers. Okay, so even before there were lovers, there was some sort of communal relationship between them because they were best friends. And so meaning they expect something, no, I'm sorry, meaning they have this kind of relationship wherein they're intimate with each other the way best friends are, etc., etc. But it seems like when they got into a relationship, there are or a romantic relationship instead of a platonic one, there's some kind of leveling up, and it's a new dimension in their relationship that they did not experience. And that's when our sender started expecting something when her partner keeps on giving. And I'm not blaming the sender at all, but it seems like because of what they were going through, that's what they're experiencing. I don't know. What do you think in this kind of communal exchange? What do you think about this,
Can you
Kathy?
repeat the question, please, Miss Marian?
Sure, no problem, Zild. If What do you think about this relationship, this exchange versus communal relationship that they might have had, and how it might have
Yes,
affected the
partner.
relationship in the long run?
Medyo similar yung thoughts natin. At first, I thought it was purely communal.
Mm-mm,
Kasi nga, di ba, pag we're in a relationship, hindi naman
mm-mm,
natin minamind yung if it is being reciprocated or not. As long as we can give something. As long as we can give our love to that person. But
that is.
as time goes by, especially if
Mm-mm,
long-term relationship na kayo, if may long-term relationship na kayo,
yep,
it can be sometimes suffocating to always receive something, to always receive, like how our sender
mm,
has mentioned in her or his or their experience. And yun nga, medyo suffocating sometimes if ikaw lang palagi nagre-receive ng love. I'm not saying na hindi naman siya nagpo-provide ng love to that significant other of theirs. But anyway, yun lang, Marian. Yun lang naman masasabi ko. But wait a minute, Let us clarify muna. What nga ba is, can you give us an example of what a communal relationship is? And what an exchange one is? Like real life situation.
well, technically speaking, there would be some kind of bias, I guess, when we talk about communal relationships, because when you say communal relationships, it's giving without really expecting something in return, and it is preferred in most intimate relationships, mature relationships. So if you were to find a husband or a wife, it is ideal if you have a communal relationship, because you're willing to share with that person, and it does not matter if that person gives back or not, as long as there is this kind of respect and love in that relationship. And usually mature relationships are communal relationships, but I think there's a bias when it comes to communal relationships versus exchange relationships, because when you think about it, both could be used in any kind of relationship. There mustn't be any kind of like positive or negative connotation to it. Like for example, when we say an exchange relationship, it works best when it comes to international relations or businesses, and
Like something related to the
when
economy,
it
no?
comes to communal, yeah, when like you give something and in return I give something, so everyone is winning at
So
this
like
point.
salaries,
And
like we do
in
our job, because we expect something in return,
yeah,
which is the salary. It's exchange. Tama ba? Okay, okay.
yes, yes,
Nice.
exactly.
Proceed, proceed, proceed.
Yep, yep. So it works. Exchange relationships work, except when you try to put it in a long term personal and personal relationship, except for that, because that's when communal relationships work the most. Like for example, when we talk about marriage
Mm,
and love, or even just or like even between sisters or friendships, like do you if you love someone, do you really expect to be given something in return, as long as you can, you can give someone what they want? What do you
ano
think,
ulit yung question?
Zild? Like if you really love someone, in a communal relationship, if you really love someone, do you really expect anything in return? If you're Because you love someone, so you give what you
Um,
have to
for me lang
them.
ha, kasi iba-iba naman tayo ng definition of love. As a religious
Sure,
country,
sure.
kapapanganak pa lang
Mm.
natin, we were encultured or we were taught to think that we should love unconditionally.
Oh,
We should pattern our way of loving, like how God
oh
loves
yeah.
His people. Kaya for me, it is okay to love unconditionally as long as naman it can be balanced. I mean, like, hindi ka puro bigay ng bigay ng bigay ng bigay. Tapos, in the process pala, you lose yourself na without you noticing.
Right, because in Filipino pop culture or in Filipino tradition, really, we've all been trained to love someone without anything in return. It's unconditional love. It's part of our Filipino society, right? So the question here is like, for example, like if we watch it from the sender's experience, how much is giving up? No, wait, let me rephrase it. Question. Okay, so like if we base it on the sender's experience, when can we say that communal relationship goes too much? Like for example, you watch it from the sender's experience. The partner of the sender gives giving and giving and giving, and now it's stifling because the sender did not expect it to be that overwhelming.
Okay. So I can see that this communal love is too much na. If, let's say, the receiver of this love, like ayaw nyo ng mag-receive ng love mo, for example. Tapos, if ever, let's say, although wala ka namang ine-expect in return, you don't know that this can also apply pressure to the receiver. Kasi 'di ba, ikaw lang naman yung nag-iisip na wala kang ini-expect in return. But the other person might think that you are expecting something and that mape-pressure siyang magbigay rin. Was my idea clear?
Yep, it's so clear then. And also when it comes down to it, um the partner you have something more to add?
No, 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 no. Proceed, proceed.
Oh, okay. Also when it comes down to it, the partner of the sender the partner of the sender themselves should also feel like it's unfair to them, basically, because they keep on giving and giving, but the partner feels overwhelmed, so now they're just giving parts of themselves, and basically they're it's kind of like a lose-lose situation, because one does not like too much affection, and one just keeps on giving and receiving nothing, because even though we try to have this idealized version of love in our head, it still stands to reason it would hurt if you just keep on giving and you're not getting anything at all. But if you're a martyr, then by all means do it. But if you're not, if you're a human, mere human being, it would hurt, and it would hurt a lot. So in this situation, it's basically a lose-lose situation, do
Yes,
you
yes, yes,
think?
I agree. Parang ano, example, if we keep on drinking water, tas yung kidneys natin, hindi gawin
Mm.
yung part niya, like hindi siya mag-excrete ng waste, then we will really die.
Yeah.
Parang ganun. Self-harming siya.
Yeah, it is self-harming. So I think there should be a balance, siguro, if you are between exchange and communal when you like try to get into a relationship. Maybe like talk it out with your
True.
partner,
Communication is the
you
key.
know. Um,
Especially na communication,
yeah, yeah. We
communication
keep.
students tayo.
Yes, exactly. Since we're communication students, we must highlight that communication is always the key, guys. uh it might be cliche to say that all you need is communication, but it's important. Granted, grant my gosh, wait. Granted, it might seem cliche and there might be people who will have a hard time opening up, but it's communication, guys. It's needed in every relationship.
True, true, true.
Yeah. And it should be balanced, I think, because one if one loves a person so much that they want to give everything and the other reciprocates that, then you will have a communal relationship. But since because of that love, you will also have some kind of exchange one, a transactional one, because you reciprocate your affection. So really, it's just finding the balance between your dynamics.
I agree, I agree. Similar din naman yung sinabi ng ano, ng sender natin. They said na
Mm-mm.
there should be a balance, di ba? That one must love themselves first before truly loving someone else.
Right, you are, Zill. Thank you so much for that sharing. And right after the break, we will talk about the different types of affections and whether or not this affected the relationship of our sender. This one will be with our special guest, our love guru, Catherine, will be coming into our show. Stay tuned. This is Praising the Fallible, Embracing the Unsanctified. This is the podcast of a human incarnate, and we will be back after these short messages.
This podcast is sponsored by ZCR Productions.
Your essential guide to the hottest new music.
Ngayong Pasko, Shopee Free Shipping! Ano man ang gusto, Shopee Free Shipping! Ano man ang kailangan, Shopee Free Shipping! Nasaan ka man, Shopee Free Shipping! Merry Christmas! Shopee Free Shipping! Shopee 11/11 Big Christmas Sale. Enjoy free shipping with zero minimum spend nationwide. Basta Christmas shopping, Shopee!
Welcome back to our podcast.
Now, to recap, our sender had talked about the breakdown of a relationship because of a disparity in attachments between their partner. But what is an attachment? What are the types of attachment, and how does these affect us in our day-to-day lives and in our relationships? In this segment, we welcome our resident love guru, Catherine Canoy, to enlighten us. Hello, Catherine. Welcome to our podcast.
Hello, Catherine. Welcome.
Thank you. So, again, thank you for welcoming me in your show. So before we get into the
Yes.
details, let's define first what is attachment. So, attachment, we can define it as a
Okay.
deep and enduring emotional bond between two people in which each person seeks closeness and feels more secure wherein the presence of the attachment figure. Attachment behavior in adults towards the child includes responding sensitively and appropriately to the child's needs. And to be more in detail, there is actually four types of attachment. And these
So is
are,
this still from
yeah, and
Mr. B and Mr. B's, Bushmeister and Bushman? Isn't it, Catherine? B and B.
yes, these types of attachments are can be found in the
Right.
book. So the first type of attachment, according to Bushman and Baumeister, is the secure attachment. It is when two attached people are low on anxiety and low on avoidance. So it means that these two people are very close at each other and their relationship is
Mm.
close. And yeah, they share their feelings, they trust their partners, and basically they're just there for each
Yeah,
other, you
okay.
know?
So it's kind of like when you say it's a healthy relationship when you are secure,
Yeah,
yeah, when you are
exactly.
secure of the love that you are giving and you are happy with it, basically speaking, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. And also, in a secure attachment, the relationship gets stronger and maturer and more satisfying as
Yes,
you
yes,
know.
yes,
Yeah,
I
and more
agree.
satisfying.
And so the second type of attachment is what we call the preoccupied attachment. But some experts still prefer the original term, which is anxious or ambivalent. So people in this type of attachment are low on avoidance, but they tend to have high anxiety and they see themselves sometimes negatively. And so when it happens, these individuals tend to be clingy and at the same time they worry that their partners will abandon them.
Mm.
So it's like when they think that when they get too close, their partner will get tired of them and consequently will leave them.
Oh, I see. That's a very interesting concept. Do you think that's
Yeah.
I think have you ever heard of the term touch starved, Zild, Catherine?
I think I heard the term before, pero feel ko nakalimutan ko na. Kindly enlighten us, partner.
I think it's when you say
Mhm.
sure, I would. When you say a person is touch starved, it's like, for example, we are in a pandemic, right? And um,
Mhm.
when we are in a pandemic, so oh my god, okay. We are in a pandemic, right? And technically speaking, we are locked up in our rooms and we don't have any kind of interaction with people. And then suddenly, when you go outside and you, for example, maybe you saw your friend for a long while and you hug them, and then suddenly you realize that you're touch starved. You did not think that you would miss that feel of skin against skin, of that kind of attachment. So it's like it's kind of like you want to be touched, you want that kind of attention and affection and attachment, but you're afraid of it, so you distance yourself away from it. So that's isn't that what preoccupied attachment is, Love Guru Catherine? What do you think?
Yeah, that's also what we consider the preoccupied
Mm, I
attachment.
see. So
A very good example.
again,
A very good
right.
example.
Do you Okay, so moving on.
So the third type is the dismissing avoidant attachment. So the people who have this kind of attachment see themselves as worthy and they see themselves as enough to be loved, but they prevent relationships from becoming too close. It's like what we usually see on social media
Oh.
today that people people love themselves and they think they're enough, but they are afraid to commit. That's what we call the dismissing
I
avoidant
see.
attachment. Because they see the other person, like their partner, as unreliable, unavailable, who can't see them the way okay, fuck, okay. Because they see their partners as unreliable and unavailable and can't treat them how they want to be
Mhm.
treated. So, in order to avoid that, they dismiss the idea of being attached.
So it's kind of like having some trust issues, don't you think? Like you think so, yeah.
Yeah,
And you did
exactly.
not. It's kind of like you said, it's in social media these days when people are like, oh, they think highly of themselves and they do not think they are people, maybe because of experiences before. They don't think that there are people out there who would treat them right, so they have trust issues and they're afraid to commit.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. Trauma is really affecting relationships
Yeah,
these
when it
days.
comes, if you have any past experiences, it would really affect that attachment style that you might have. It's like that's how your attachment style is built, I guess. Love Guru Catherine.
Yeah, like how we attach ourselves to other people depend on the basically it depends on our past and how we were
Mm-mm.
treated before. So it's like, yeah, the root and okay,
It's
fine.
like
Oh
the
my
root
god.
and cause.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's proceed to the fourth. I think there are four kinds, diba, Catherine? Yeah, the fourth.
yeah.
So we're on the last attachment.
So, lastly, the fearful avoidant attachment. According to Bushman and Baumeister, it is characterized by both high anxiety and high avoidance. So these people, they have very low opinions of themselves. They think so lowly of
Mhm.
themselves, which results to having a very low confidence in getting involved in a
I see.
relationship. Yeah. So okay. So people with this kind of attachment, they've basically built a wall around themselves, a wall that is too high because they see themselves as okay. Oh my god.
It's okay.
Oh my
We're
god.
almost done.
Okay. So people with this type of attachment tend to build walls so that okay. So oh my god, I'm so sorry, Zild. So people with this type of attachment tend to build walls around themselves so that no other person can get to know them because they totally see that the potential partners are harmful to them, can like ruin their
Mm,
peace, can basically ruin to what they built.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like I think it's kind of like a person who thinks that they don't deserve love, so they close themselves off to the world because again, they don't have that kind of they're ashamed of themselves. Do you think so? Uh,
yeah, and yeah,
right.
okay.
So let's talk about our sender and their relationships. Well, what do you think it's interesting because it seems like the partner of our sender had a attachment had a it seems like that the partner of our sender had a very secure attachment, and when you say there is a secure attachment, it usually means that a relationship is healthy, but in this case it wasn't, because our sender seems to have some kind of, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Love Guru Catherine, but I think that our sender has some kind of fearful attachment because they did say they did not think that they were worthy enough and they were uncomfortable with the gestures that their partner gives them. So what do you think about that?
On the sender's perspective, she has a fearful avoidant attachment because she thinks very lowly of herself and that she believes she doesn't deserve to be
Mhm.
loved. But on the partner's perspective, he has a secure attachment because he's very comfortable with his partner. He shares stuff with her, he does things with her, but I can't fully say that the relationship is exactly
Mm-mm.
healthy because in order for it to be healthy, both have to feel
Yeah.
secure towards each other. Yeah.
And I think it also comes into play how these people, these individuals, love how they love themselves. Don't you think, Zild?
Yes, I think so too, but I don't think that it applies to all. But anyway, the way you love yourself may also reflect on how you love other people too. But as I've said, this is not applicable to all. There can be variations or differences depending on what type of person they are.
Catherine, what do you think?
We all know that the most important thing that we need to do before getting into a relationship is learning to love ourselves because that will help us realize what's worthy of us. And when we love ourselves, we exactly know how we want to be treated and how we want others to see us. And if we don't know that, it's going to affect the entire relationship that we're going to get into.
Right, right. I
Hmm.
see. But we should also also goes to it should also be said that loving too much of ourself may also hinder a relationship. Like for example, if you are if you are uh, dismissing avoidant, like in a dismissing avoidant attachment, um, you love yourself so much but you don't trust other people. So it really, I think there's supposed to be some kind of,
So like narcissism?
oh yeah, exactly like narcissism.
Yeah, like being self-centered.
So I
Yeah.
think there should be a balance. You love yourself, but you should also know when to give and when to be attached to others, because if we go too much loving ourselves, that will become a dismissing avoidant attachment, and that might not be healthy for the relationship. Do you think?
Yeah, I think yeah, that's correct because a relationship is composed of two people. So two people have to give and take. Okay, so wait. So a relationship, I mean, okay. I mean that's correct because like a relationship is composed of two people. And in order for that to work between those two people, they have to give and take. It's like balance, because like if you're gonna be self-centered, you're not gonna consider what your partner is saying or how they're how they're treating you. It's not gonna be
Right,
healthy.
right.
Oh.
So there must be technically speaking, there must be what's technically speaking, what's most ideal in a relationship would be a secure attachment. Do you think? Mm-mm.
Yeah, yes, a secure
But
attachment.
like you said, there must be people must know what works for them, so they must talk to each other. Communication is key, right, Zild? Because once again, we're communication students, and we keep on
Yes, communication
telling
is the key.
people, yes, communication is the key. So there must be a communication between two parties and telling what works for them, what does not, what is attachment for them,
Mhm.
what their love language is. So there would be, there would be the relationship would stay stronger. Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Kanoy, for blessing us with your knowledge about the different types of relationships.
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Kanoy. It had been a pleasure having you in our podcast, and your insights had been invaluable. Thank you so much.
It's also an honor to be here with you guys. Thank you for inviting me to talk to your show. It's really a very nice experience.
And now for the segment that most of our listeners are looking forward to. This is the Eden Open Wall, where we take your comments and read them out loud right here, right now. So, in relation to the story that we had put out, we asked the question, where does love usually go in a relationship? To you, to the person, or should it be balanced? And how do you love a person who loves themselves? So you've sent us our responses, your responses, and we will be reading them right now, right, Zild?
Yes, so for the first comment of the day, we have Chelsea Bernales. Hello, Chelsea.
Hello, Chelsea.
So Chelsea said that one of the defining moments I have experienced was realizing that in love, I can actually learn and do more for
Mm-mm.
myself. My semi-partner, semi-partner, it's complicated, ha ha ha,
It's
parenthesis,
complicated.
and then taught me how to look after myself and to not always focus on other people. I thought it was more on giving and giving that I forgot about myself. In love, we find both killingness and friendship. We may have sweet days, but we also have days where we constantly just tease and piss each other off. These kinds of things. Because of this, I have learned that, I mean, I have learned to listen to myself and to give equal love to the reflection I see before me. What can you say about this, Marianne?
Yes, Chelsea, I think that this is such a enlightening realization. Like we said before, when it comes to relationships, it's love is a two-way street. You love, you give, and your partner gives, and there is a healthy relationship, communal relationship that is reciprocative, right?
But like if reciprocative siya, hindi ba siya magiging exchange? For example.
Right. I don't know, so that's why it's a thin line, because like for example, that's what I was thinking as well. No, now if you experience a communal relationship, if it's reciprocative, you love someone, so you give so much and the other feels the same way, so it kind of like becomes into an exchange relationship, so it's kind of like a thin line to walk,
So
siguro,
it's
when it
like
comes to finding the balance of that.
pwede rin siya maging combination of
Yes.
both. For example, like
Yeah.
both of you give each other love without expecting something in return. But then again, this
Mm.
becomes an exchange. So parang it's a
Yeah.
combination of the two.
Yeah, it is a combination of the two. And when it's a combination of the two, it prospers more, because it's basically both of you are benefiting from that relationship.
So it's actually a win-win.
Yeah, it is a win-win instead of a lose-lose. Okay, moving on to Angel May Villarino. Hi,
Hello,
Angel.
Angel.
Since wala tayo, yes, since wala tayong bebe or crush, char, in terms of friends na lang, just as any other relationship, it's more of giving yourself the love first before giving it to others. Because, girl, how would you even give your friends your oasis when in the first place it's in the state of drought? Wow, Angel, that is a really good metaphor.
Big brain.
When you Yeah, an oasis. You cannot give an oasis if you don't have any water. When you put yourself first in your list of love ayuda, love ayuda talaga, Angel. Giving to others just becomes easy, and how you treat them is also a manifestation of how you treated and loved yourself. This is actually not just applicable to friends, but to jowa and family too. So yeah, it should be balanced. First yourself, and then they come sec. First yourself, and then they come second. What do you think, Zild?
I agree with most of her arguments, no? And her
Mm-mm.
messages kasi ano naman, big brain stuff. Grabe yung You can't give the
Yes,
oasis
yung
it's in the street
metaphor
of
na
broth.
oasis.
Just mind-blowing. Anyway,
Yes,
yun lang naman
indeed, it
masasabi
is.
ko for that.
Angel, you mind blown Zild daw. Mamaw ka raw, sabi ni Zild. Yes. And I think the highlight, Angel highlighting that relationships does not only function between a boyfriend and a girlfriend or a jowa or a lover or a partner. Basically, relationships act in different ways because, as humans, we have relationships with other people, from our families to our friends. And when it comes to that, there might be different kinds of relationships. The exchange and communal could be applied in different ways, but I think you should still have a healthy sense of self-respect, not to the point of narcissism, I guess, not to the point where all you think about is yourself, but you must also have that decent kind of self-respect in order to have a healthy relationship with your significant others, like your family or your friends, etc.
Okay, that's really a nice way of saying stuff.
Uh-uh.
Anyway, let's move on to our last sender, Mr. Ferdy Kogal. Hello, Ferdy.
Hi,
Tama ba ko
hi,
pronounce ko sa name
Ferdy.
mo? Anyway. So, ito yung message ni Ferdy. After that, think of this. Where should your love in a relationship go? To your partner? To yourself? Or a balance of both? Love in my end should be an endeavor, where you think of the betterment of both. Both should positively benefit on the relationship. Both should have their hearts open and ears to hear and communicate to both ways. In loving, may it be someone special to me or just a friend, I don't look to them as a lower person than me. I treat each one equally, and what I think what is essential in loving is giving without expecting anything in return. So basically, this is a communal way of relationship, di ba?
Mm-mm. Yep, it is a communal way of relationship.
So what can you say
But he
about
did
this?
high.
Hmm?
It I guess it's a combination of both, like what you've said, Zild, because he did highlight how both should positively benefit on the relationship. Yeah. So I guess when it comes to exchange and communal, what's really important here is like who keeps track of whom. If usually in a communal relationship, someone keeps track of the things that are sorry, rewind. Usually in an exchange relationship, someone keeps track of what is being given and how you receive it. And in a communal relationship, no one keeps track of anything. And like we discussed earlier, there are debilitating effects if you just keep on giving. So again, there must be a balance of both. But it should be highlighted that these relationships, they can function both ways. They can be good or bad. There really should not be any kind of like negative connotations around them, especially when it comes to exchange relationships, because in exchange relationships, like as mentioned, when you talk about the economy, etc., etc., those work as well. So yeah, those are my insights so far about what Ferdy said. Basically, Ferdy summed up a
True,
lot
true,
of
true.
what we
He
were
has tackled
discussing
enough.
today.
Both exchange and communal relationship.
Creating relationships and having relationships is part of the human experience. Arguably, that's why we are humans, because we have formed this complex kind of relationship with others where we feel cherished and loved, or we mutually benefit from it. And I think it is important to keep in mind that these relationships have different ways of working out and have different applications in real life. But the goal here is to again, be reciprocative of that kind of love, and to have a healthy sense of respect, whether it is for yourself, for your partner, or for the relationship that you have with each other. And it might be hard sometimes because that's what you do when you deal with psychology and with the flaws and these mistakes and incomprehensions of being a human being. But we endure it and we go through it because, again, what's life without a little bit of spice and love and eggs, right, Zild?
Right. So to sum it up, in today's episode, we have tackled the two main types of relationship, communal and exchange. Although both are distinct in nature, these two have one goal in mind: to give love, may it be unconditionally or reciprocally. We have also discussed the different types of affection together with our guest Catherine, the Love Guru. Before we end our episode, I would like to remind you all that before we enter a relationship, may it be communal or exchange, we should first love ourselves.
That is correct, Zild, and what a way to end this episode. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast, everybody. I am Marian.
And I am Zild.
Let us continue praising the fallible, embracing the unsanctified. This is the podcast of the Human Incarnate.